Okay, so today we're going to make a drawing of this offset guide that I have here. Here's my part. Yes, very, very nice. I'll create another video showing you how to make it another day, but it comes from this little drawing I grabbed out of a book. Alright, and I'm going to show you how I would approach making a drawing to this part. You may have a different technique that you want to use, but this is going to be the way I would approach it. I'll show you a few things, how to put in dimensions properly, and how to modify some things that maybe aren't the way that you want them to be. So we're going to go up to File, we're going to click New, and instead of a million screens, this on the other screen, we're going to go to Drawing. And then for this project, what my students are going to create is MS1001-offset-guide. This is going to be the name of the drawing. I'm going to hit OK. Ooh, and I already have created it. So let me just get that out of session here. Well, you're probably not going to have that same issue. So we'll go File, New, like I did earlier. Drawing. MS1001-offset-guide, and then I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to pick Empty with Format, and I'm going to hit Browse, and I'm going to navigate to where I have my formats saved. In a previous lesson I created some formats. Okay, so I'm going to create this guy because it's a pretty good size piece on a C-size drawing. So I'm going to hit OK. And then because I haven't set up my parameters, I'm just going to type in some of my different parameters. If you have parameters set up in your title block, it's going to automatically do that if you forget to set up your parameters. So now from here, and the big point of this lesson is just to show how to create views and move dimensions around, things like that. So I'm going to start by right-clicking, and I'm going to go General View. I'm going to hit OK, because we don't have any other states that I've created. I'm going to click, and there's my part right there. And then I'm going to kind of think about, well, based on this part, this side over here looks like it shows a lot more detail as far as how the shape of this looks. So I'm going to pick the right side as my primary view by just double clicking on right like that. I also could have clicked it and then hit Apply. That would have done the same thing. Then I'm going to hit OK. Alright, now that you have a view in here and you have a model set up, let's say you accidentally picked the wrong format. Here's how you change the format. So I'm going to double click down here where it has the size of the sheet. Now this is a little tricky how they do it, but you have to click the C-size format for sheet 1, and it creates this little pull down, and you're going to go to Browse, and now I can navigate to my formats again wherever I may have put them. So mine were in C Users, Public, Documents, Formats, and then I could pick a different one. I'm going to stay with the C. It'll let me apply it again. So I'm just going to put the C in there. But if you had picked an A or a B, probably not the best for a drawing this size. So I'm going to hit Open. I'm going to hit OK. And then it's going to say, do you want to remove the table, okay, down here and re-add all that information again? Or do you want to keep it? And I'm going to say remove it. It's going to remove that. And then I have to retype this stuff in. So let me just do that quick. Offset guide. No title 2. No next assembly. Drawn by me. Drawn date is the 18th of September. And there we go. All this stuff's going to update for me. So now what I can do, and normally what you're going to have is your view movement's going to be locked up here. So I'm going to uncheck that to unlock it. And then I can move my part to where I want it. And then I'm going to create the other view that I think I need. So based on the features that this part has, it has a hole that comes through this way. All right, and then it also has some little pillars that stick up. So I probably need a couple different views. So I'm going to click this part, and then I'm going to click the projection view option. I'm going to move up, and I'm going to click to place it. And I'm going to do the same thing again, just in case I need this view later on. And I'm going to apply that there. Now before I forget, I'm going to turn my planes off because I don't want those showing up on my drawing. And then I'm actually going to go over here and create my isometric view before I forget to. I'm going to hold right click. I'm going to click General View. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm just going to click up in this space here to put my isometric view. And I'll leave it just like that. That's just fine. Alright, so now my little trick here, I can click any of these and go into the properties of the view and edit all different properties. But if I hold Control and select them all at once, this handy thing happens where when I go to the Properties button here, it automatically goes to the View Display options because that's the only thing that all of them share. Okay, the only thing that I could change on all of them at once. So I'm going to go to No Hidden, and then I really like dimmed tangent lines. It's a personal preference thing. You don't have to use them. Some people like solid, some don't even show them. I like dimmed. I think it adds a little effect to it. And then when I hit OK, all of my views are going to update. Okay, and now I have the views I'm going to need for the different parts of my model that I'm going to dimension. So the other thing that jumps out at me right now is the size is a little small, so I'm going to come down to Scale down here. And I'm just going to double click it, and I'm going to change my scale to say 2 for the time being. And we'll see if that works with my dimensions once I have them in here. But for now, it looks pretty good. Alright, so now, best way to put in your dimensions, because the advantage of Creo and these parametric modeling programs is that my drawing is linked to my model, so I can change either one, and both of them are going to update. So I can go up to Annotate up here, and I can select Show Model Annotations. That's going to use my drawing or my model dimensions for me. So I can go Show Model Annotations, make sure I'm on the Dimension tab, Show Model Dimensions. You can see that pops up right there. And then now, what I like to do is work my way down the feature tree, okay, the model tree here, in the order that I made the piece. So I'll hit Extrude 1. Here's all my dimensions for Extrude 1. Well, I want the depth, okay. Yeah, I definitely want that height, definitely want that height, definitely want that one. Probably want all these. So I can click them all to select them. You can see it hits the checkbox. If I knew right off the bat I wanted all of them, I could just come over and hit this double checkbox and it would select all of them as well. So now I'll hit Apply so that that applies. Then I'm going to jump down. I don't really want to move anything yet, so I'm going to jump down to Extrude 2, which was the cutouts of these elongated sections here. And here's the dimensions I need. Yeah, I think I need all of those again, so why don't I just check them all again and hit Apply. Okay. And then this is starting to clue me in that maybe I don't need this view down here. It does show some shape, but I can kind of see it in my isometric as well. So I'm going to go down to my whole pattern. I'm going to click that. I'm going to get some dimensions for my whole pattern. Maybe that's a little confusing and hard to see. So I'm going to select the holes individually because I probably want to show that whole pattern right up here. Alright, so I'm going to select that one. And I definitely want the length there. I definitely want that there. Okay. Definitely want the diameter. Alright, then I can come over to the second hole and I can click that and I can get the distance between them since they're patterned. Okay. I'll apply those. And another thing I could do at this time is I could hit my axis, my datums here, the tab up in the top right. And then I can pick this hole, pick the axis for it, because I definitely want to show it in this view. This is where I'm dimensioning it. I could pick this one, pick the axis for that one as well. Okay. So then I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go back to the Dimension tab. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to pick my next hole, which is this one here. And I definitely want to show it on this view, so I'm going to pick that. I'm going to pick that. I'm going to pick that. Okay. And then I can come over to my datums, and I can add the axis as well. And then now I've covered all my features, so I can hit OK. And all the dimensions I need are here. So now, I really don't need this view, so I could select it. I could go up here, hit delete, get rid of it. Really free up some space on my drawing, spread things out a little bit. Yeah, that looks like a nice drawing. Nice and lots of space. Okay, now the other way that you might want to do this, and I'm just going to get rid of all of my dimensions on each view. So I'll go through. It's not going to let me do it that way. So I'm going to actually go through and select these just to show another way to go about it. So we'll get these, boom, get rid of that. Because when you get to a more complex drawing, you're probably not going to want to show them all at once like I have here. So what you might want to do is work feature by feature and lay things out the way you want. I'll leave my axes because I know that's where I'm going to dimension these things. So I'll go dimension, then I'll go to extrude. It'll show my dimensions here. And I will select these different dimensions that I want. I'll hit OK instead of moving on to the next feature, and then I'll lay them out how I want. So maybe I want, oops, don't want to move them all at once. So I clicked in the plane space to unselect things, select this guy, and I click again to drag it. Which is a nice little option to show the center if you want to. The other nice thing you can do is that we can flip arrows. If you're dragging it with the left click, I can right click and flip the arrows back and forth while I'm holding left click. Okay, so maybe I want to move that one in. Maybe I want to move this one to the center. It's probably a good idea. Probably was there to begin with, but I moved it earlier. Alright, and then the other thing I noticed is that I want this extension line to come right down to here. So I can grab this extension line, bring it down to the height I want, line it right up there. And all I did to do that was I made sure my dimension was selected. And then I can go right to the end, gives me a little blue bubble. I'll just drag it down around the length that I want. Alright, and then I can drag this one out, make it a little easier to see. Center my 3, move it down since that's an overall dimension. I don't think I'm going to have anything else down there. Okay, so now I've got that set up. I can move my 2 over. Okay, so now I can go back, add in my second feature, click that. Alright, and this is again my cutouts for the sides here. So I definitely want that. Definitely want that. Definitely want this width here. Definitely want that. I definitely want the height as well. So now I'll hit OK, and now again you can see, I'm going to click out on the white, I'm going to select a view or a dimension on one of the views, and I'm going to move it out. And then what it's going to kind of clue me into is, well, wait a second, these are going to cross through each other. That means I'm not really being consistent with how I'm dimensioning. I'm using the top line here as a baseline for this, but I'm using the bottom for all my other dimensions. So maybe I want to go back, and maybe I want to change how that's dimensioned. So here's what I can do now. This is why I want to link these things up. So you see my 1.5. Maybe it would be better if I just showed the height of this, what was there rather than what's not there. So I'm going to right click on my part over here. I'm going to go to open. Okay, and now I'm going to go into that feature. So that feature was the second one right here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to edit the definition of it. Then I'm going to go into my sketch, placement, edit. Okay, and here's the handy thing you can do with a drawing. If I select the dimension and then I hover over this one right here that says replace. So if I hit replace, I can now pick this bottom line, and then I can pick this bottom line, and then I can middle click over here and replace it with a 1/4 inch. Now I hit OK, finish my feature creation, Save my part, of course. Close out of it. Now I come back over here. Look at this. We got this 1/4 inch dimension here now. The 1.5 has been replaced in here. So another good reason to use the show model annotations. So I can drag this over, create my extension lines where I want them to be. All right, and there's ways to do this a little more accurately, but I'm just showing you a quick way. So I dragged this guy out because my arrows were overlapping. I could also flip it like this if you like that. I'll switch it like that just for the heck of it. All right, that's a little crowded, so I'm going to move that away a little bit. All right, now I'm going to come up here. I probably should have looked before I went into that, but if I look at my dimensions, I have a feeling I might be a little inconsistent here as well. So I have a dimension to there. I have another dimension that gives me the thickness there, and then I have a dimension between the two, and then another thickness there. Okay, so I could do the same replace command if I wanted to, or I can do it this way. But another handy thing you might want to do is when you click a dimension, okay, and you have a dimension maybe in a view that you don't want it in, which isn't really going to apply here other than maybe a length dimension. So say I wanted to move my 3 over up to here. I could click it, okay, like this, and I could hold right click on it, and I could say move to view. And I could click up here. Ooh, not happy with me, I guess. I can click it, hit move to view, and move it up there. All right? Or I can click it, move to view, move it back, because I actually do like it down here. Okay? So the other thing I can do is if I pick a dimension, I can also grab this little section here, okay? Drag this over. So I want to just move it side to side instead of moving up and down. Once I get to a height I want, move this over here. I have a couple little options here. So one, for example, that might be handy is maybe I want to flip the text to go to the other side. All right, maybe I want to do it sort of like this, kind of stagger the two, like so. Maybe I want to flip the arrows in so it's a little cleaner. Could do that. Could even go like this, line them up with each other. So I have a lot of options, really personal preference. All right, you can set them up all different ways. I'll flip the arrows here, we'll flip the text as well. I don't love this dimension, but in the real world, the way this part would be made is it's really made as a weldment. We're turning it into a simple model for my students to model up. So then we can go show model annotations. We can click on our whole pattern. All right, and I can see that's not the view I'm going to want those in. So again, I'll pick up here, pick that one as well. All right, maybe I want my diameter dimension over here. That's not a bad idea, so why don't I do that? All right, but you can see the reason I point that out, I'll apply these. If I pick this hole, and I haven't shown this yet, the diameter will be off that one. If I pick this one, it'll move over here because I haven't selected where the diameter is going to be yet. So if I want it off this one, I could select it now. If I want it off this one, I could select it now. Okay, I'm going to go with that one. So I think I have a nice little area here to put it. All right, so then I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to line these dimensions up. And now I'm starting to see my inconsistency as I clean this up. Because my 1 is coming off the top, all my other dimensions are really based off the bottom, even though it's kind of compounded here. So again, I'll open up my part. I'll go into the original hole. I can actually just pick the hole and then right-click and edit the definition, or I could right-click it over here. So edit definition, and then I'm just going to grab my handle, I'm going to drag it to the other side, and then I'm going to hit OK, or middle click. Save, close out of this. All right, and now my 1's over here. So now I can drag this back, stretch this one out, drag this down, and now I kind of have, there's one thing to remember with holes. holes, by the way, is that they usually go to the center of the extension line, so you'll have to update that. But now I have all of my dimensions for the hole kind of in the same general area of my screen. I have these two right here, this right here. All my stuff's based off this corner down here. I can also select two holes at once and drag all these together. If I drag two dimensions at once, maybe I want to drag that down to there. And another thing to know is when you convert these to prints, even if it overlaps like this, it will leave a gap. I just like to move them for my own personal view of what the drawing is going to look like. And then I'm going to show one more hole, which is the one right here. Boom. Boom, boom. And I'm going to drag that out. I'm doing the same thing to flip the arrows, by the way, as I'm dragging it around. I can right-click and flip the arrows, or you can also hit the flip arrows in here. I like it the way I did it. So I'll drag this one out, move my 1.75 out a little bit to limit the confusion, clean up my extension lines. Lots of extension lines to clean up, make it look real nice. Okay, and then one thing that I'll need to do is for my holes, because they go through, I need to add some text. So for this one up here, I'm going to click it. And for this one, I need to add quite a bit of text, actually. So I'm going to hold right-click. Okay, and I'm going to go into customize. Oops. Forgot they moved that. So I'm going to click it. My dimension options are up here now, actually, up above. They changed that in Creo 5. Okay. And I have things like my number here. I can also go into dimension text. All right. So here I can change like my prefix. So for example, if I want it to say, which I do want it to say, 2 times, and then I'll put a space. All right, and then at the end, I'll put a space and I'll put through, because it goes through. All right, and I can see as I type that in, it's adding it right along here. Okay. You can also change other things, dual dimensions, dimension formats, things like that. Used to be you had to go into a property menu, which is why I originally was looking for it there. But in Creo 5, they have updated that. All right, so now I'm going to just say I'm okay with that. And then for this one, I'm going to do the same thing, dimension text. But this time, I just need the post text. So I'm going to put a space, and then I'm going to type through. It's going to update. And now that's updated as well. All right. And now, last thing I'm going to do, now that I have my dimensions in, I'm going to move my views a little bit, kind of try and make my best use of space, leave a little space around things so it's easy to interpret. We don't confuse a line for something that's not. All right, and we can see that's a very nice layout now. And all I have to do now is just go File, Save, okay? And then I can go to my working directory, wherever that is, and go ahead and hit OK. All right, and now we have a nice little drawing. I'll make another video of how I would go about modeling this. And then, of course, I always have a number of drawing videos up. All right.